And we are here again for another rating. So, recap time. Last time on Hall 17, if I could remember. Okay, I need to pull it up real quick. So, okay, last time on Hall 17, the search party at Hotel OJ got the video that OJ sent, but like the laptop was very destroyed and no one could understand what it said in the video. So they were trying to decode it. And hello fire. So, and then they were trying to decode it. And OJ got everyone in trouble for that. So test tube was gonna literally torture everyone. Mainly Lightbulb. I don't know what Lightbulb did. I don't know. Should have. I just and then decided to literally not give her anesthesia while doing another surgery for her, which sucked. And then after that, I think they did something else. The OJ's orange juice was spilled outside of his body, and Tester replaced it with soda. I guess that's an important thing to remember later on. So, yeah. And that's what you missed on Hall 17. I forgot what number it was. And also on like a side note, good news, I found my paintings. Like the mini canvas ones. Like the one in my profile, I found it. I thought it was gone forever, but apparently it was just it was missing and it came back. Alongside with the Gady N2 one. Yippee. So yeah, they're not dead. So I'll probably have to re-announce that on my community post later on. So yeah. And if I could get... Okay, I'm having issues with Wattpad right now. I'm trying to get it up right now. I'm doing all I can, but it won't work. I also recorded something that I don't know if I'm gonna upload or animate or make a comic to, but like it was a recording of like um possibilities for teapot, what is it? I already forgot. Teapot 18. Yep, Teapot 18. I like made like a few like voiceover or like skits of like scenes that could happen in it. Predictions kind of. So I don't know if I should upload those or not. But like I think I need imagery because right now it's just the voice. So I'm probably gonna draw that or animate that, whichever one, and upload that on my own time, like somewhere in like the beginning of May, something like that. So yeah. Now let's see if Wattpad will work, and it works. Yippee. Okay. We got this. Who is ready for this chapter? It is called Guilt. I wonder who's gonna feel guilt. Oh, test tube anyway. Trigger warning. Mentions of blood. Oh yeah, we sure love that, don't we? I need E1, test tube said, gesturing towards Lightbulb. Great, another attempt to resealing the scars. She stood up, wincing at the sudden ache in her abdomen, though walked forward regardless. There was the same odd feeling of coming intact with the hard ground after being on the weird flooring in what she called the White Room. Though she was careful not to trip, she gave her usual last look back towards Soap and OJ, a sad smile to reassure she would be okay. The door closed, and Test-Tube grabbed Lightbulb's hand. To Lightbulb's surprise, Test-Tube instead took her into a door across from Soap's room. Now that she thought about it, Lightbulb had never seen any of the other rooms in the hall besides the White Room and Soap's. The room looked like a basic doctor's office. There was a nurse's cot. What? There was a nurse's cot at the side of the wall and some cabinets lining the side of the other wall. Lightbulb took a seat on the cot, looking down at her feet. Sitting down felt weird, even though the cot wasn't hard compared to the floor in the White Room. It was stiff, yet this was a regular room, wasn't it? Had she really been here long enough for the room closest to regular in the lab to feel surreal? What are we doing today? Lightbulbs asked hesitantly, looking at up at what I'm messing up, sorry. Looking up at Test Tube, who was looking through the cupboards. Cup I'm just not gonna say that word. We're doing a simple physical examination first, Test Tube stated, then a mental evaluation. I should have been doing this since the start of this experiment, but it's never too late to begin. Lightbulb nodded, looking around the room a bit. It had several shades of green and a turquoise painting tur- turquoise painted on the walls. I don't know why I'm having trouble pronouncing things. Though everything else was white or light blue, the layout was simple, though she was a little off put by the stretcher in the corner. Tube pulled out a small flashlight and a wooden stick from one of the cabinets. Now open your mouth. Fan sat on the. Okay, it's scene switch. Scene switch. Oop. Okay. Fan sat on his bed, the sounds of his phone's keyboard filling the otherwise quiet room. He figured he'd give his daily blog update now, since he didn't have anything else planned today. Paintbrush walked into the room. They looked at Fan for a moment, though went to their side of the room after. Why had they? Oh, Fan was humming why? Oh, okay, let me re-say that. Oop. Why had they? Oh, Van was humming subconsciously again. He stopped, going back to the updating his blog. You don't have to stop humming. I'm just grabbing my wallet, Paintbrush said. Oh, wait, was this foreshadowing to when Baxter stole Paintbrush's wallet? It wasn't Paintbrush's wallet, though. It was Balloon's wallet. Although this came out before that live stream, so, yeah. Paintbrush said, grabbing their wallet off the table. Even though they had what they were looking for, they still stared at the picture that sat next to their flag. Are you still thinking about it? Van said, looking at the frame. He couldn't see it well right now, but he knew it was the picture of the bright lights. There were some members missing, being that it was taken a little far into the game, but something told Van they were looking at light bulbs specifically. I feel bad. The night she disappeared, I had been a bit. Who am I kidding? I passed her off entirely. The last words I said to her were far from the nicest, and I regret it. Paintbrush admitted, sitting down on their bed. And I also haven't been nice to my response to the situation towards you and Test Tube. Actually, I still owe you an apology for that, don't I? Yeah, you do, Van said, setting his phone on his lap. All right, I'm sorry for blowing up on you, for something that wasn't your fault. I don't know how to handle the situation then, and I take the blame for how I behaved. And I forgive you, Van said. Thanks for the apology. I thought you had forgotten about that day for a while there. Now you should probably go. I'm guessing you don't need your wallet for nothing. Oh, right. Thanks for the reminder, Paintbrush said, sitting up and heading towards the door. Talk to you later? Talk to you later, Fan said, waving up as the door closed behind them. Well, that had gone quick, though it was still provided some closure on the situation, in a weird, fashionably late way. He laid down on his back and began updating his blog. Poor Painty, cries. Oh. Lightbulb walked forward on the treadmill. Treadmill? Treadmill. 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 Lightbulb walked forward on the treadmill. What exactly did this test aim to do again? She'd been doing this for almost 5 minutes now. Not that she couldn't handle that, but she didn't know how long this would take, and she was already feeling understimulated. So was her last physical test before the mental portion, huh? What exactly was the mental portion going to be? Lightbulb doubted it would be bad. It was just an evaluation. Maybe Testu would be asking questions. Would Lightbulb finally be able to talk to her about the situation then? Actually, Testu probably thought of that, so she might use some sort of worksheet instead. Lightbulb was brought back to reality for a moment by a slight pain in her stomach. There was always some sort of sting in there, but it became a bit worse. She slowed her pace, not thinking much of it before she went back to the thinking. A couple more minutes passed. The pain wasn't getting any better. Lightbulb stood in place, holding her stomach. Test tube entered the room, confused and worried. After a moment, she seemed to not care as much, standing by the door. That's marks the end of your physical evaluation. We're going back to the first room for the mental evaluation. Come on, E1. Lightbulb stepped off the machine, though didn't get far across the room before she doubled over her stomach. It hurt, though she thought it was bearable. She didn't have that good of a pain tolerance, and the pain didn't excuse her way her body was acting. Why was it so hard to walk now? Before Lightbulb could tell what was happening, her mouth filled with the taste of blood. She spat it out, blinking away tears. The damage wasn't that bad, right? E1, did you stop at the first sign of pain like I asked you to? Test tube asked, kneeling next to Lightbulb. Lightbulb shook her head, moving one of her hands over her mouth. Blood slowly dripped onto the floor. Her stomach felt raw. Test tube sighed, shaking her own head. This is why we follow directions. She walked over to the desk and grabbed a towel and a bucket, handing the bucket to Lightbulb, cleaning up the blood with another item. Lightbulb leaned over the bucket, hacking up a bit more blood. She didn't push herself that far. She barely even felt it. I suppose you're not fit to do an evaluation in this state. Come on, we're going back to your room. Test tube said, pulling Lightbulb's arm over her shoulder. They were they walked across the hall to the white room again, Lightbulb keeping the bucket underneath her mouth. Oh my gosh, Lighty, please be okay, sweetie. I don't like this. Oh. Once they reached the room, Lightbulb carefully walked over her bed, which was luckily not far due to the room's size. She had to resist the urge to flop down on it, steadily sitting down instead. OJ looked at the bucket, concerned, but didn't say anything otherwise. S3, come here, Testube said, the keys still in her hand. OJ stood up, though didn't walk forward. What are you doing? He said blankly. His tone was dissolute of emotion, but at the time filled to the brim with it. His face was pure rage, but somehow gentle and calm as well. What did you do to her, and what do you plan to do with me? Physical examinations. Nothing much. I didn't do anything to E1, besides checking her physical state. She put up she put this upon herself by pushing herself, by pushing her own limits, Test Tubes explained. Right, because Lightbulb of all people would do that, OJ scoffed, narrowing his eyes. It doesn't matter. If you believe me or not, it doesn't matter if you believe me or not. Just follow me. Don't make this difficult for me. OJ looked behind him. Lightbulb still held the bucket and below her mouth, though mustered a small smile, her way of saying she was fine. He exhaled, es, what? Exhaled. What the heck? Exhale. No. Okay, that was okay, that was my little error. Okay, that is not what the thing says. Oop. Okay, it says exhaled. Exhaled, looking back at test tube. Fine. And with that, they both walked out of the room. Log 5. I did a physical and mental evaluations on all three of the patients today. Well, there were. Oh my gosh, my voice is cracking. Oh no. One moment. I'm gonna go get water. Okay, I am back. And yeah, let me try to find where I left off. Oh, wait. Okay. We're just gonna start at the beginning. I did a physical and mental. Oh, wait, that is where I left off. Whoop. Okay. I did physical and mental evaluations on all three of the patients today. While there were some occurrences, I got sufficient results from the tests that were done. E1 has a good physical state, apart from the obvious problems with the healing of her stomach. She complied well, though pushed herself too far, at least on the last test, and may have worsened the damage. This could cause more health complications in this long run. When it comes to mental health, E1 has some struggles. She shows several symptoms of depression, anxiety, and PTSD, as well as having slight amnesia. Some of the more notable symptoms are paranoia and sorry, paranoia, para oh wait, no, I'm saying a bad word in Spanish technically. paranoia, paranoia, exhaustion, and overall lack of motivation. I wonder how much of this was directly caused by the tests. Test tube remembered sitting across from her as she filled the sheet out, bucket still in her lap, just in case. The silence of the room was broken by four simple words. Do you hate me? Test tube didn't answer, though. It made her feel something. Guilt. Say that. Say that. Tester remembered sitting across from her as she filled out the sheet, bucket still in her lap. I think she's talking about light bulb. So, the silence of the room was broken by four simple words. Do you hate me? Test tube didn't answer, though it made her feel something. Rereading that again because that makes me question some things. Test tube remembered sitting across from her as she filled out the sheet. It was Lightbulb, so what's fill in the blanks? Tester remembered sitting across from Lightbulb as she filled out the sheet. Bucket still in her lap. The silence of the room was broken by four simple words from her. Do you hate me? Oh my gosh. That actually makes me feel something. Test tube didn't answer, though it made her feel something. Okay, but not what test tube's doing. I do not feel guilt for Lightbulb because I'm not the one putting her through this. I'm just the one have to read this and stuff. Oh my goodness. It's okay. It's okay. 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 Let's do this. Okay. We're good. Let me try something. I'm gonna finish this chapter and then I'm gonna end the live. On contrary, S3's mental state has been improving. Since his first test, he has been more alert, though not concerningly so. His sleeping patterns have improved, and talking to the other two subjects has been regulated. However, his body has taken a toll on new liquid. His hands were uncontrollably shaky, though none of his results of mental evaluation gave any answers, leading me to believe it's due to the physical health and problems. His body doesn't seem to accept the carbonation as it did regular juice. It is having negative side effects. His handwriting has been uncharismatically messy, from the patient with arguably the best mental health. Test tube expected something neater. J2's health is doing well in both the physical and mental departments, most likely due to tests not being. I'll do another evaluation once her tests do begin. It took J2's form for test tube to realize there was another variable to play at play. None of the subjects wanted to be there. To be- have been, she'd have to have lower expectations for what made good mental health. Well, good mental health while grading these. Speaking of which, analyzing S3's new behavior shouldn't take too much longer. With this new information from the evaluations, since wait, whoa, what? How do I murder a fictional test tube from a fan fiction about about objects? I'm asking for a friend. Step one. Uh, re- just write the name on a piece of paper, or like use your imagination. I don't know. Actually, just get into the magic box and travel into the dimension that test tube exists in. And make sure to bring any weapon of your choosing. And then, when when the moment is just right, you strike and just destroy her. And then save all the victims and give them cookies. And actually go back in time and kill. Actually, you have to have a time machine and a portal gun or whatever. So first, you go into that dimension. You go back in time in that dimension, and you kill Test Tube before she becomes a psychopath. And yeah, everyone's saved, and no more evil Test Tube. Though technically in that plan it would fail, because then Mifune would just revive Test Tube. So potentially kill Mifune too, but that would mean everyone else would die. So I think the only solution is to literally burn down the library Test Tube got this idea from. So yeah. And now reading the last sentences. Speaking of which, analyzing S3's new behavior shouldn't take too much longer. With this new information, the evaluations, once that is done, I can begin with J2's experiment after all this time. Things should start in the next week or so. The next log will be then. Signing off, Test Tube. Oh my gosh, I just saw this, but like, oh my gosh. The person who wrote this fanfic has test tube as their profile. I didn't notice that. So if this is the if the author's favorite character is test tube, why are they making her like this? I have no clue. Maybe it's because of the villain arc that was necessary for her character development or something. I have no clue. Okay, I'm gonna read half of chapter 13. And oh look! Hi Mason! Okay, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. My teeth. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, you better not shame me for this. But like, I don't know what happened, but I like got a cavity, and it's like it hurts like hell, and like, and it hurts. Okay, it hurts very badly, and I don't get this treated until May, so that sucks. So when reading this, I may occasionally just pause because of the pain. So yeah. because there's literally the inside of my tooth is gone because of the damn freaking cavity. So, yeah, hurts like hell. I'm gonna try to bear through it and read through this, and we're all gonna have a good time. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, ouchie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't want the dentist to rip my tooth out because of it. So, like, I'm doing all my what I can to prevent the cavity from like worsening, but like at this point, I don't care if the tooth gets ripped out of my mouth in order for it to go away. I need this pain to go away, okay? I need this pain to go away. If a dentist has to rip my tooth out of my mouth, I don't care. It just hurts. It hurts, okay? At this point, my tooth isn't even that useful anymore because like the inside of it is missing. It's literally hollowed out, okay? Ouch. Yeah. I got 2 cavities last year and I had to have surgery to get them removed. Oh, did it hurt? Oh, I'm starting to question things now. But like right now, it's not. It's just I'm gonna try to bear through this. But like cavities suck, okay? And it's not like I have bad oral hygiene. Like I brush my teeth every morning. I brush my teeth every night. A knife? Wait, I didn't. Oh my gosh, I mispronounced it. I brush my teeth every night, not knife. Why did I mention knife? I don't know. Anyway, I am good, and just telling you guys that because, like, if you question why I'm reading and I pause for like a few sentences, it's just to like take a sip of water, stop for a little minute, process the pain and stuff, you know? So, yeah. And I'm gonna do that right now. Actually, drink a little bit of water, and we should get started with chapter 13. Sick. And Mason, I think you were gone for like the chapter we read. So basically, test tube did like tests on like all 3 of the people, and now she's saying that she's gonna do like an experiment on soap. So yeah, and here we go. Log 6. So remember the small mess with E1 up I mentioned last log? It hasn't gone too well. As of recently, she hasn't stopped processing food properly. As in, nothing goes completely down, instead coming back up. This is a problem. Gain she can't gain proper nutrition. E1 didn't take long to realize the problem and has stopped eating entirely. I've taken E1 into a different room temporarily with an IV in hopes of in maintaining her health. This may also help the studying S3's new behavior, as he and J2 haven't been making many interactions, usually staying silent when E1 goes out. Maybe a little longer time alone will get them to interact. All I hope is that E1's stomach bug or whatever has caused the recent issues goes away and can be removed in due time. I can't let her die. She'll let the research team know I'm behind the disappearances. I won't let her die. I won't let any of them die. Yeah, okay, she's smart. Well, like, Test Tube just killed me from. Okay, I'm not trying to support what Test Tube's doing, but she's kind of acting up. She just has to kidnap me phone or take me phone or kill me phone. That way her plan is solid. So I guess on that part she's kind of silly for that. No, she doesn't deserve the title of silly. No, that only goes to Lightbulb. Okay, so she's kind of stupid for that. I'm sorry, Test Tube, in this fanfiction. Actually, I'm not because you're making everyone in here suffer. Okay, there we go. Test Tube, when I get you, you'll be. You, yeah. Okay. Lipo walked out of the white room with test tube, careful not to step the wrong way. Her stomach was still hurt, though it wasn't too bad. The walking wasn't helping, though, sending small spikes of pain through her at random. Surprisingly enough, test tube took a different turn than usual. They weren't going to the operation room this time, were they? Lightbulb didn't say anything as they continued through the lab, though her stomach felt worse by the moment. Eventually, test tube entered a room with a bed in it. It looked to be a proper operation room, not the one test tube would always use. Instead, Lightbulb took a couple more steps to the bed before sitting down on it, giving her already hurt stomach a break. She noticed a number of things on the table next to her, all within reach. There were some colored pencils, paper, a book, a 4x4 color cube, and a sandwich in the corner. You're going to have to stay here a while I figure out what's wrong with your stomach, Testu explained, tapping her feet. You'll go back to the right white room once the problem is solved. This isn't permanent. Lightbulb nodded along, still mostly looking at the table. Now, for safe measure, I'm going to have to do this. Test tube walked over to Lightbulb by the table. She grabbed something from underneath the table and brought it to Lightbulb's wrist, snapping around it. It was a lot like the metal binds in the operation room, though it was connected to a wire that led under the bed. If the wire's connection to the bracelet is cut off in any way, I will get the notification. So don't try anything. Oh my gosh, Testu, please. Please, just let her go. Let her go, dog. Please. Testu put one more bracelet on Lightbulb's other wrist before walking out of the room, leaving her alone. Lightbulb lifted her hands in the air, testing to see how long the wires were. Neither of them pulled. She could still move around well, though they didn't seem to be long enough to get off the bed. Well, may as well get comfortable. She grabbed the book and looked at the front. It had its cover taken off, so it was only a blank page. She opened the book, and the rest of it seemed intact. Lightbulb wasn't much of a reader, though. She had the closest thing to all the time in the world, didn't she? She opened the book and began quietly reading. Oh, it's a book? Oh, okay. I thought it was a coloring book, so why would it have a story in it? I was a little bit confused. I'm confused. Do coloring books have stories in them? Did she open a coloring book? Did I misread that? She grabbed a book and looked at the front. Okay, so it wasn't a coloring book. It was a normal book that had its cover removed. So she's just gonna read a book that she has nothing. What do you want that? Like, it's like the quote says, never judge a book by its cover, but this book doesn't have a cover. So, would you still judge it? Or I guess you wouldn't really judge it at all. I don't know, I'm just saying random stuff. Tube popped out of the vending machine, dusting herself off before walking back towards the populated area of the island. Unsurprisingly, not many people hung out in the middle of the forest. That's why she had chosen to set up her laboratory there. She figured she'd look at the library. Although the island was small, the library was fairly big, especially considering the population of mostly contestants. She was sure someone had put some medical books in there somewhere, right? If not, she'd just have to look online. The forest thinned as she got closer to the library, eventually becoming the field most of the contestants crossed regularly. Hotel OJ came into view, quickly towering over the admittedly short trees. Tester walked in, not gaining much attention. Not that she was expecting any, though. As she walked into the library, she noticed the medbay's door was open. Now that she thought about it, she had never been there. Had crossed paths with it so many times, though she never actually looked inside. Now feeling curious, Testube cracked open the door. It was fairly simple nurse's office layout. Most of the cots were being empty. Keyword most. Tissue sat at the end of the room, staring out at the window absently. He had an oxygen mask over his mouth. Test tube thought about it for a moment. He was there because of the condition. He always was. It was almost more likely for him to be in the medway than his room, or even the hotel lobby, due to how bad the symptoms could get. Test tube couldn't help but feel bad. All of this because he was born with some off codes of DNA. Why the hell do you feel bad for tissues but not the person you were friends with? What is wrong with you, Test Tube? You don't even feel remorse for your so-called friend Light Bulb. You traveled to another timeline with her. Or like I guess like you traveled back in time with her or something. Yeah, traveled back in time. So why are you doing this? Why do you actually feel remorse for tissues? A teammate you couldn't give a. Sorry, I'm just kind of mad at Tester right now. Not saying that tissues doesn't deserve that, like empathy, but like, eh, yeah, it sucks more because like Mifo made him as a joke, which sucks. Which sucks. Tissues, please understand that you're just a normal character that doesn't deserve the hate you get. Test tube, you monster. Interesting. She stood at the doorway for a little while longer. It was marked incredibly by doctors. There had been many attempts to create something to help it, but the only successful medications only reduced some of the symptoms severely. Se- severity. Severity. I don't know what that word is. Testu was a scientist, though, a very active one who didn't tend to limit herself on certain fields. Now her curiosity was on the rise. Maybe she could. Not now. She still had to collect information on S3 and E1's stomach issues. She had worked enough. She had enough work already, especially while balanced. Excuse me, I released air through my mouth, aka I burped. So, pardon me. That was actually really embarrassing. I'm sorry. Ah, okay. Not now. She still had to collect information on S3 and fix EU1's stomach issues. She had enough work already, especially while balancing hanging out with her few friends she did have at the Hotel OJ. Avoid being under suspicion. But the idea existed in her mind. Sitting there in a lump, she walked away and continued her journey, though didn't stop the thoughts going through her head. What she didn't know is that somebody saw her staring at tissues through the doorway. Pillow and test tube would be good friends? Maybe? Let me think about that. So, Pillow, who thinks death is a helpful benefit for people, and fanfic test tube of Hall 17, who just thinks as people as subjects, as like experiments. Maybe? Which one of them would be worse, though? Pillow doesn't feel remorse for those she kills. Meanwhile, I mean, I guess Test Tube also doesn't feel that, but like, she still has some slight humanity in her still. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, should I read chapter 14 or not? Next chapter is tissues. and I'm gonna read the first beginning half and we'll decide. Okay. Beginning half, light bulb was the type of object to get bored easily, and wouldn't you know it, she got bored. Again, that was all the past few days had been for her. The book was okay, not exactly her type of story, but she still enjoyed it. The puzzle books were a lot like the ones in the White Room, but obviously empty. They got repetitive. They got repetitive quickly. Okay, I will read chapter 14, and I think that's where we're gonna leave off after that. So, yeah. Overall, a lot of her time in the room was spent on drawing and staring into nothing. Test tube used anesthetic on any of her attempts to get rid of the problem with Lightbulb's stomach, so that passed a bit of time too. Other than that, Test tube's occasional check-ins, the time was spent alone, and even though it had been, what, a week or two here, Lightbulb still had an irrational fear of something happening in two main rooms while she was gone. She couldn't shake the feeling that something bad might happen there. Oh, and there was one more thing on Lightbulb's mind. Hunger. She hadn't been properly eating in the days she'd been in the room. The problem still existed after all, otherwise she'd back in the right room. Even though she was starving, she knew she couldn't do it anymore. She knew she couldn't do anything about it. If she tried to eat anything, it wouldn't stay down. The feeding got exhausting fast. It wasn't until now that she realized just how bad she hated being alone. She never thought she'd find herself wanting to be back in the White Room after getting away from it. But here she is. Maybe she'd just sleep off it again. Maybe she just maybe she'd just sleep it off again. This is fun reading. Yeah, I try my best. I just like to. And the first time. I can't really remember the first time I actually started reading Hall 17. And I think the first time reading Hall 17. Uh, Let me think. I think that was like my first stream after like a while of like the first stream just being me reacting to Object Invasion. No, not Object Invasion. What is it called? Object Lockdown. So like after that stream, Object Lockdown was like bad because literally no one showed up. But I don't know. I still reacted to the first episode. I chatted for a bit. No one was there except like one person though. So like I felt like there wasn't really no necessary to watch like the whole Object Lockdown, like the episodes that were out if there was basically no one watching, so I kind of just stopped after watching the first episode. And I haven't watched Object Lockdown since I wanted like it to be like some sort of series or book sorts, but I can't really present the episode, so yeah. And then I decided to do a live stream again, reading fan fiction. So yeah, and I did a vote for that, and it's in my community post somewhere for what chose, and the winner was Hall 17. So now we're doing that. And then I'm gonna do the second most voted one in the poll. And then make another poll, maybe, actually. I don't know. So yep, I came in late. My bad for that. It's okay. Because like I'm just glad you showed up. Because like I like chatting to people. I like it. Because like I get to find like other people's who like who are in the same like interests as me, and I get to talk about my interests, read or whatever, and you guys just listen and respond. So yeah, that's nice. Okay, back to reading. Tissues yawned, fiddling with his thumbs. It was late afternoon, but he was already falling asleep. He didn't mind it, though. The few things he could do with his condition. Oh no, I mispronounced it. With his condition were daytime activities anyway. Anyways, The stars were nice, though. Sometimes he'd stay up to look at them, like tonight. He wasn't going to stay up too late, though. Pushing his limits could be fatal if he pushed himself too far. Right now, the sunset had lots of dark oranges and purples, and the rising moon was already visible. It was small things like this Tissues took time to enjoy, being that he couldn't do much else. His breathing was unusually even today, even though he'd actually sleep in his room tonight, right? Even though he'd actually sleep in his room tonight. Though maybe not. Anything could change at any moment after all. Also, shorts out. Ooh, weepy. He snapped out of his thoughts by the sound of the door hitting the wall. Shoes turned around to see who it was. Test Tube was standing in the doorway, looking a little nervous. Scared? Shocked. Tissues couldn't tell. He turned back towards the window, not caring about her presence. She was probably grabbing something for her studies. He could have sworn he heard a sigh of relief from behind him. He heard the door close, assumed she left the room, and went back to looking out the window. However, he felt the weight of blankets way down next to him. Sat next to him was Testu, who was now also looking out the window. You have a nice view from here, don't you? Tissues was a little surprised and nodded. Mm-hmm. You know, I'll try to do my Tissues voice. Hmm. You know, I very rarely see you when I do go. Oh wait, that is not Tissues. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. That is literally test tube. I'm so stupid. Oh wait, oh my god. I got the two characters confused. Okay. Okay, let me reread that to get my brain right. Okay. He heard the door close and assumed she had left, and went back to looking out the window. However, he felt the blankets weighed down next to him. Sat next to him was Test-Tube, who was now looking out the window. You have a nice view from out here, don't you? Tissue was surprised and nodded along. You know, I very rarely see you when I go out of my lab. Do you go outside much? No, my condition doesn't like all the pollen and other allergens are out there. I cannot read that. Testo hummed in acknowledgement, nodding a little. Your condition holds you back from a lot, what I've learned. There hasn't been too much research into it either, though. Do you have medications for specific to your condition, or is it assigned to help the symptoms? Just the symptoms, Tishu said, trying to keep himself from sneezing. He didn't have company very often, and even though it was unexpected, he was appreciating the little he was receiving now. He didn't want to drive her away. I see, Testube said, thinking to herself. From what I know, there's no to it yet. Your condition, that is, condition. That is, sorry, I keep mispronouncing condition. Good Tissues voice, not gonna lie. Okay, let me try to read it. Your condition. That is, if there is one, it may be very underground or hard to accure. Being that even I don't know about it with my research, she paused, turning towards Tissues. I've always been interested in making a scientific breakthrough one day. Creating a cure to a disease would get me known for in a scientific field, wouldn't it? Tissues looked up at her, not quite picking up on what she meant. Oh, what I mean is, I think I want to try to create a cure, and I like a little help with it, Testube said, answering his unasked question. So, what do you say? Tissues was a bit confused on what she meant by help, but he was too surprised to wonder about it. Almost excited, even. Now that he thought about it, she had brought that bag. Oh, you're gonna kidnap Tissues. I should have known. Oh, a bag. You're gonna put him in the bag? You're gonna kidnap Tissues? What's the Oh my gosh. Why couldn't you just kidnap tissues then? Why didn't you think about this sooner? You wanted to make a scientific breakthrough, and you're doing like this documentation stuff that isn't even going to be published. So I guess that's why you're doing it, because you know that your research is pointless. Why the fuck are you doing it in the first place? I'm sorry for swearing, but like, oh my gosh, this annoys me, and Tissue's gonna get kidnapped, and like, this sucks. Ugh. Oh no, not tissues, not tissues. Tissues doesn't deserve this. The bag. No. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Did she mean right now? I don't think I understand. Ah, I'll be a little bit clearer then, Test Tube said, putting her hand on Tish's back. I want you to come to my lab so I can try to to cure your condition. No strings attached or fine print. Tissues thought about it for a moment. Right now? That would be the optimal time. I don't know. I'm kind of tired. If I stay up too late, my condition acts up. Tissue said, looking down. He wanted to be cured. He really did, no matter what it took. He wanted to live a normal life, but felt off. He didn't quite believe her on the no strings attached part. Oh, you're already tired? Test Tube said. I would have brought something else a bit less strong if I had known. Oh well, I take any risks of you telling you others. I take any risks of you telling others what I said anyway. What do you? Before Tissues could complete his sentence, he felt something stab him in the back. Quite literal backstabber, you test tube. Don't hurt anyone but Tissues. Oh. He looked to see what it was, a needle. Just like the one in the video the search crew had found. Of course, everything slowed down. The previously underwhelming exhaustion came down full force on him, knocking him out. Testu caught the boy as he fell almost. Okay. Testu caught the boy as he almost fell off the bed, lifting him up and sliding him into the bag. Of course, because that's not suspicious at all. That was easier than expected. Then again, there was no reason to choose him of all people to do anything to. Given his condition, it made sense why his guard fell down as so easily. She listened for footsteps outside for a second before leaving the medbay, carrying the black bag alongside her. She had already returned to she had already returned to sorry. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip of water. Okay, we got this. Not Tissues, my goat. Tissues, your goat is being kidnapped. She listened for footsteps outside for a second before leaving the medbay, carrying a black bag along with her. She had already returned to the library books today to lower suspicions, so she'd have a reason to be at the hotel today. Nobody thought anything was off as she walked by, assuming the bag was for the books. She waved a quick goodbye to the hotel as she slipped into the forest, and shortly after that, the lab. She brought the bag across the lab to the room next to light bulbs. As she did, she noticed she could hear hear light tapping from her room, so the walls were thin enough to hear through. Tester wondered what interactions they might have. Maybe she would get more notes on their behalves. She made a mental note before setting Tissues down on the bed, putting the same bracelets she had given Lightbulb on his wrists. The room was a lot like Lightbulb's room, though it was mirrored. The beds were back to back to back with each other. I think I added too many backs. Okay, let me redo that. The beds were back to back with each other, with only a wall between them. Before Test Tube left, she put a note explaining the situation in front of Tissues. If he had any more questions, he could ask Lightbulb. She also put some fruit next to him, cut up just in case. Maybe she could have collected more information about dietary restrictions. Oh well, she could have always asked later. She could always ask later. She made a quick trip around the lab, giving the other two subjects their lunches before heading back to her office. She spun around in her what is this word? I don't get it. What is this word? Tell me what this word is. Oh my gosh. I think we mentioned this word again. And Tissues is like pretty much kidnapped. I think we talked about this word once, right? I think that was another word we were confused about, or at least me. So yeah. Sweevel. Someone bring out the hammer that got Test Tube's name. Yeah. Time to die, Test Tube. I'll try my pillow impression. Yawn. Boring. Time to die, dragon. That was mommy. Anyway, we're gonna change the dialogue to time to die, Test Tube. Yawn. Boring. Time to die, Test Tube. I'ma just hit something. Oh, I remember this. It's like a chain lock thingy. Chain lock thingy? That's the thing. Why would she have a chain lock thingy on her chair? What type of chair has a chain lock thingy? What chairs do you have, Test Tube? I don't think you're normal. Obviously, you're not normal. You're just psychopathic. Okay, let's just finish this. She made a quick trip around the lab, giving the other two subjects their lunches before heading back to her office. She spun around in her swivel chair as she sat down and faced her computer. It ran slower than the laptop, but that was yet to be repaired since S3's incident. She opened up the document page and began writing. Log 7, July 14th. I wasn't quite expecting to go through with this plan, but there's no turning back now. Well, maybe if Tissues has enough memory loss from the sedation, but I doubt so. I suppose I should create a subject name for him. Normally, I take their subject name, whatever their experiments were centered around, but what order they came in, but C4 is a little, well, yeah. T4 will do fine. Anyways, T4 has something known as a condition. T4's been limited physically due to his whole life, constantly experiencing symptoms harsh enough to keep him overnight in the hotel's medbay almost every day. There's no known cure for it. The only medications available for him only helping the symptoms. I've decided to try to change this. I'll admit, I've been taking a bit of pity on him in my choice, but that doesn't matter. I have him in the room next to E1's, so they might interact. This will help take note on both of them, but may answer a few questions along the way. No complications have arisen so far, and if I've done everything right, it should stay that way. I'll update once I begin T4's first test. Signing off, Test Tube. Okay. Paper sat down. Scene change, by the way. Paper sat down at the kitchen table, doing the hotel's paperwork. It had become regular for him to do this, staying in his seat for some time, Well, doing whatever he had to do. In fact, was almost he was there more than he was in his office. This particular day was fairly quiet. But then again, things have been more on the slow side, and not just because the disappearances. No, that had also been adjusted by now. Baum, who would normally be stuttering all over the place, wasn't at the hotel right now. He was off the island collecting supplies for the next month. How does that work? I don't know. Okay. There was still background noise, of course. There were a few times the hotel was completely quiet, and even then it could be awake at any time. Pickle and Knife were playing video games together. They talked a lot, the gameplay as they did. Suitcase seemed to be listening to music. She was pacing around a little, but not in an upset way. And T and walk around I'd walk out and said, "It's dark out, so I'm walking around in circles around the hotel," type of way. She was wearing headphones with cords that slipped inside her, presumably leading to where her music player was. She must have been near blasting it into her ears, as you could hear it when she came slightly close. Okay, real talk right now. What type of music would Suitcase listen to? Name any song, and I will literally just make a let's make a Suitcase playlist. Actually, yeah, and put the songs in the chat, and we're gonna say that's it. What Suitcase is listening to right now in this fan fiction. So, what type of music would Suitcase want to listen to? What I think she would like to listen to, uh, I think like anything gentle, like that one song. I don't know what it is. It's like the song that is like kind of like humming, but like it's like you know. So yeah. Okay, let's just abstraction. The the Amazing Digital Circus fan song. That is it's like, why is this happening and what am I doing here? Or is that no, I don't think that is it. Is it it? No, it's I'm fine. I won't lose my mind. There won't be no abstraction. Fine. Oh my god. I'm losing my mind for real though, because there's a freaking bee in my room where I'm recording right now. Oh, that was okay. I'm back. That's the first song I thought of. Yeah, it's that one. That makes sense actually. And there's a bee. There's a bee. Uh Hopefully I don't get stung. So yeah. Suitcases playlist. So yeah. Okay, let's finish this. Box was also there, as you could hear somebody passing through by drop a greeting or a compliment to him every now and then. In fact, just a couple of moments ago, Trophy had been loudly complaining about him being in the way. Paper had walked in thinking there was a problem, but eventually Box was moved to the side and all was solved. Cheesy was also there apparently, slapping his knee every time someone made something even close to a pun, intentionally or not. He heard a bit of music as Suitcase pacing through her closer to him for a moment, but walked away to avoid bothering him. Overall, everything was going well. Keyword was. Mere minutes after Trophy was done shouting at Box, loud footsteps came in through the main hall, where he had entered previously. He came running out, standing in the doorway. Paper turned around and looked at him. He was concerned. Scared? No, those weren't the right words that described him. Shaken, that's the word. That's what he was, what he looked like. He was shaken. Clearly having noticed something was off, Pickle and Knife had paused their game, looking up at him. Cheesy looked equally confused, though in a curious way. Trophy crushed the room's atmosphere in a total of 4 words. Has anybody seen Tissues? Tissues is gone! Because Test Tube took him. But someone saw Test Tube the other night when she saw Tissues. So possibly when they find out that Test Tube, if Tissues is missing, they're gonna go to Test Tube themselves, and then they're gonna get kidnapped. Or, or, let me think. Or they reveal this information, and yeah. But since there's 55, 55 55 chapters of this, I'm gonna assume it's gonna be they reveal themselves to Test Tube, and Test Tube deals with them and makes them their experiment too. So yeah. Okay, next chapter is called Weird, and I'm only gonna read the first line because that's all the time we have for tonight now. Tissue slowly opened his eyes. Surprisingly, it wasn't that bright out. He had been expecting worse. When he gone to sleep, everything was a blur. And chapter 15 is called Weird. So that's all. So yeah. Thank you all for coming and listening to me read this and have conversation about this. And sometimes we get off topic, but we always stay on track anyway. Thank you. And I don't know if we'll have another Wattpad Wednesday next Wednesday. It all depends on time and stuff. And I hope to see you tomorrow because I think there is a stream planned for tomorrow. I'm pretty sure there is, where we're just gonna talk for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. It just depends with whatever. Anyway, that should be all. And thanks for watching. Yeah. Okay. Check out the short. I will definitely check out the short. Bye bye.